Hi, hunters. Thank you for tuning into the Flush'em and Dustin podcast brought to you by Nick and Tyler, the boys from Ringnecks and Retrievers. In this podcast, we will talk about guns, dogs, gear, and our successes and failures in the field through our combined 40 years of experience. We speak with hunters just like you from across the nation about their days in the field and the many memories they built with their friends and family. We are excited to have you listen. Now let's get to Flushing and Dustin. Hey guys, Nick and Tyler here with Ringnecks and Retrievers. Tonight we have Katelyn Bordwell. She is coming to us. She is an archer. She has her dad has a kennel. They run their own dogs. Big time duck bird hunter. So we're just going to get into it. I'm going to ask Katelyn some questions. So Katelyn, why don't you give us a little bit of a background about where you're from, a little bit about your hunting and what you like to do, and some of those things.
Yeah, so I am from Tully, New York, which is upstate New York, not the city. Yeah, big difference. My family owns an archery shop that I grew up in. So I grew up around hunting, and I started shooting a bow when I was 2 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's how I progressively got into the archery and hunting as well. And then, I grew up with short hairs for hunting around, and so it's basically something that I've known since.
How do you get into competition shooting for archery? I have no idea.
Yeah, so I actually have a archery team right now of kids, and I'm helping them get into it. And the biggest start is there's a lot of people don't realize this, but there's actually a lot of local clubs that have small little shoots. And that's a really good start. And then going from there, starting out at maybe a state shoot, and then from there going to big national shoots. But yeah, there's, like I said, people don't realize it, but there's shoots all over.
So have you been on the national shoot then? Have you
Yep.
gone to?
Yep, I go to normally I go to about 12 national shoots a year.
Oh, wow.
This year we didn't go to that many, obviously, because there was COVID going on, so a lot of stuff got canceled. But
what's COVID? I mean, I don't even know what that is.
What's a shoot consist of? I mean, what do they judge you on? Is there different ranges? What give us a rundown of like a national level? What's that?
Yeah. So there's different styles, and so it's kind of hard to explain because one shoot is different from the rest, but the basic explanation is, so during the winter time, they have indoor shoots where you're shooting paper targets from 20 yards. These targets have rings on them that accumulate score. And then depending on what shoot you're shooting at, you shoot a certain amount of arrows, and whoever has the highest score wins. Normally in the professional level, they'll have the top however many shooters actually go in a shoot off that is a lot more intense than just shooting on the line.
Yeah.
And then to be summertime, which is my favorite, it's 3D, and you shoot these foam animal targets in the woods.
Nice.
And you're like walking across animal targets.
That's pretty cool.
Huh.
And those have rings on them as well.
Wow.
So do you have like in the 3D ones, when you see them, do you have X amount of time that you have to shoot, each target, or is it not a timed event?
Yeah, so they have the first archer. So you're normally in a 3D shooting in a group of 4 people. The first person that gets on stake, they get 2 minutes. Just they have to have a little bit of time to get everything ready for the group. They get 2 minutes, and then the people following them get a minute. And which that doesn't sound like a lot, but it's actually a lot of time.
Okay.
Probably is. Once you get used to it, when you're first up there, you're probably like, oh shit.
Yeah, I wouldn't even have an arrow knocked in a minute.
It's not very they're not very strict about it either. It's kind of like if they start to see a group's kind of slowing down and holding everybody up, that's when they actually will get the timer out. But
nice.
Oh, nice.
That's pretty cool.
So tell us a little bit about your experience with you mentioned your dad has a kennel, or you guys have a kennel, family kennel. Tell us a little bit about that and why you got into German short hairs. I know they're a popular dog among the upland game and things of that nature, but just give us your take on it and kind of run us through that whole situation.
Yeah, so the kennel is Mountains Fury Kennel is what we have. He hunted with short hairs when he was younger. His getting into hunting was with, it would be his grandfather, and he had a
Okay.
short hair that they took upland bird hunting.
Nice.
So that's how he got introduced to them. And he on his own got really big into waterfowl hunting, and he wanted, a dog that's gonna do both for him.
Yep.
So he got a short hair, and we had one when I was younger, and then after he had left or passed away, we didn't have a dog for a while, which was very sad.
Yeah.
And then we ended up, it was a hard time.
Yeah.
And he ended up, he surprised me and my brothers with a German short hair puppy whose name was Gretchen, and she was the start to our life. She was one of those once in a lifetime dogs. She was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, we hear that a lot.
And she had a few litters, and yeah. And she had a few litters, and at that time he was kind of, breeding for hunting dogs. That's what he wanted, a good hunting dog, a good companion. And then we kept one of her puppies almost 10 years ago now, and that's when we got into NAVDA.
Okay.
And started doing, the testing, the training through that.
So you guys do all your own training then, and do you train for clients as well with your litters, or you just do your own?
So we do majority of our training. We have worked with other professional trainers throughout our time because, everybody has good intake that you can get from one another.
Yep.
As well as when we have our NAVDA or our training days, we help each other out. And then throughout having our litters, we have helped people that have gotten puppies, helping them get started training. And then the last 2 or 3 years, my dad did start on other people's dogs, and we've been training them.
Nice.
So how many?
Go ahead, Tyler.
Oh, go ahead. How many dogs are you guys up to in your kennel now that you guys breed in?
So we have 6 dogs right now. We have 6 right now. One of them, Maggie, who's our one that we started NAVDA with, she's spayed and no longer having puppies. Then we have Abby, who she's going to have her very last litter. She's going to be bred at some point this month when she comes into heat. And we actually plan on keeping one of those puppies.
Oh, nice.
And then we have Briar and Autumn, who they would be 3rd generation from the start. And then we have Willow and Cooper, who I call our puppies. They're a little over a year now, and they are the 4th generation.
Oh man.
So do you guys get like your studs or your bitches from different places and bring them in? Is that how you're working that, or are you just trying to work it through your own breed lines, I guess?
Started out, we've had used different studs from other people. And, we found these people through NAVDA, and we look up test scores and a bunch of information. We talk to other trainers that worked with other dogs to find them. Now at the point where we did keep a male this a year ago, and we're starting to get where they're far enough in our line away from each other that we can start breeding some of our Mountains Fury males to our females.
Nice.
Which we're really excited about. We actually just got we got the breed mate program. I'm not sure if you guys have looked at that. And I was playing around with it, and I've actually have planned 3 generations from now what dogs we're going to breed with, depending on, as long as the puppies end up being healthy and good hunting dogs.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
no,
crazy.
It's really exciting to look at.
Didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah,
So
it's really cool. Yeah.
How many litters do you guys usually produce in a year?
So we are at the point where we like doing 2 litters a year right now.
Nice.
Okay. And are those dogs all spoken for then, for the most part,
Mhm.
before you even have them?
So we do have a. I'm sorry.
Or are all those puppies
Can you
already?
repeat that? Sorry, I missed it.
Yeah, are
Oh
all
no,
those puppies already spoken for? Like before the litter comes?
So we do have a list of deposits. Obviously, you don't know how many puppies are going to be
Yep.
yeah.
born. So based on that, we'll see if we'll have some left over or if they're all spoken for at the time.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. And you guys are doing a lot of duck hunting with your GSPs. Now, we don't typically see that from where we're from, but clearly it works well for you guys, right?
Yeah, it's a main topic that people tell me all the time because they say, "Oh, I didn't know GSPs waterfowl hunt," and they always tell me, "Well, they can't take the cold." And my response is, I always show them this video of our dog Maggie. When she was 7 years old, we were hunting her in a lake and it was below zero. There's slush and ice at the edge of the lake. And she goes out and retrieves a 60-yard duck, that's starting to float away. She retrieves it, comes back out, and as she's coming out of the water, she's wagging her tail, absolutely loving life. And so
That's
they're awesome duck dogs. And
so.
so
Give us
it's
a
yeah, hot.
give us a rundown of with. So obviously, we train uh, retrievers like labs and goldens. We do the waterfowl some with that, and the guys that we know that have GSPs, they're strictly upland with the GSP. They point the birds. How is your training? And I don't know if you run your GSPs upland at all, or if they're strictly waterfowl. But give us like a rundown, for guys and girls that are interested in, maybe getting their GSPs be more diverse. Give us a rundown of a training that you guys do to train your GSP for waterfowl. Is it similar to how retriever guys do it, or is it, you know, what struggles have you guys did you guys come across to get them waterfowl ready?
Um,
It's kind of a
Honestly,
loaded
we haven't
question.
really. No, you're good. We've actually, it's very similar training. We've actually worked with some lab only trainers because we talked to them about, force fetch, making sure that because that helps out because they're really good with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But it's very similar training. I mean, obviously you have to teach them versus upland versus water. You have to teach them to hold a steady point to where they're not, going in, flushing the bird out or chasing it while you're shooting at it.
Yep.
But they need to learn not to move until you let them go retrieve the bird, which is the same in both. I mean, honestly, really the only difference is the pointing. And we usually start out on upland and then work to the water. Because if they got the retrieving down and everything down on land, then they should be
good
set
for
with
water.
water.
Do you find it difficult to get
Right.
them to become more retrievers, dogs per se? So my sister has a Gordon setter, so
Mhm.
obviously he points, but he won't retrieve shit. He he won't even put a bird in his mouth. So, like, do you find it difficult for that transition
Mhm.
for GSPs to want to retrieve?
No, no, they're extremely birdy, and I think it also depends on the dog too and the line that you're looking at.
It
But
does.
we've never really had a huge problem. The hardest one that we've had was my dog Abby, and she just was very hard with force fetch because she was a dog that is a very soft dog, but you can't go overboard with. So it was a very thin line you have to be careful with.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
Mhm.
That's how
Yep.
my golden, my female golden, she's a super soft. Like you you can't use anything harsh with her. So even when I did force fetch with her, I didn't really even do a force with it. It was more of just hold, because if I even went to touch her ear, she'd just completely shut down. But then, and Nick can attest, even with his lab, he was, they had to like actually force fetch, you know, and
yeah, Diesel had to be almost beat. I mean, he was stubborn. He was stubborn.
yeah.
He has confidence that can't be broken, so he was going to do what he
My
wanted to do.
my dog that I have now, the puppy as I call it, Willow, she is the exact opposite. I really have to make sure when I'm transitioning, if I take her collar off and put it on Abby, I'm 100% sure that I'm always looking at what level are we on right now so I don't screw this dog up.
Yeah. Yeah, some of those, man, you can light them up with a collar and they just keep on running through it. It's crazy. So no, go ahead, Nick.
No, I didn't have anything.
Oh, so GSPs, they have like a ton of energy for, they got a lot of guys like that we know, to wear them out, they're running them 4 or 5 miles, and obviously duck hunting is different with being in the blind, and having to sit there. Have you guys ran across issues with, getting them to stay on place or stay in a blind, just with the amount of energy that they have, or is that something that you haven't really had many issues with?
Once in a while they will, especially when you're missing ducks or it's too early before you can start shooting, you have birds going by. They're definitely antsy and they're whining and sometimes they get a little whiny, you have to remind them stop, but for the most part they're not going to go until we tell them okay. The one thing that they do, especially Maggie, is so our blind in our swamp is like 7 feet off of the water, and the dogs have a goat ramp that they can go in and out of the water. You always have to hang on to her for the first bird because multiple times she's so amped up and excited. She's jumped off the 7-foot blind into the water, and we're terrified that she's going to get impaled by a stick or something. But that's like the only thing that we kind of see as far as the energy wise in the blind.
You got a tree stand for duck hunting? Is that what you got?
Yeah, out bow hunting and duck hunting at the same time. That's awesome.
There actually has been bucks we've seen swim through there.
How does that work? I've never heard of a duck blind or goose blind set up 7 feet off the ground.
So it's something that my dad built, and it's what it is it's like 2x4s. I'm not really good with construction wise, so hopefully I'm explaining it great. But they're pretty much, the problem is the water level changes so much there. So you really had to have it off the ground just in case. But it's 2x4s with posts in every corner that's put down. And then we have like a netting type stuff that's, going over the top of us so they're not seeing us and get flared out. Yeah.
Man, that's crazy. Is duck hunting and goose hunting up in you said upper state New York? Is that where right? Yeah. Is it, is that a pretty good flyway for them coming down? I guess I'm not really familiar with that area of the country.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously not out west, but it's pretty good. We did this weekend, the first day. This year was really hard because the water was extremely low this year, but there's been multiple times where we've limited out and it was a good weekend, but we haven't gone out west yet. It's something we've definitely talked about to go out and try.
Yeah, I don't think you can beat North Dakota if you want to do waterfowl hunting. Right. It's crazy.
We went to South Dakota a couple of years ago. Well, we go every year, but the place we went to a couple of years ago, which was by Winter, South Dakota, birds everywhere. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
There were just flocks and flocks and flocks. I was like, oh, Jesus.
Yeah, there's thousands of ducks. It was insane.
That would probably be what, 20-hour drive for you guys? Way up there?
I've never actually looked it up. I think it's something similar to that. We had a dog that went that direction that we sold, and it was something around that when they were looking it up, the time it would take to come and pick up the puppy.
So when you guys do you ship dogs or do you make people come to you when you sell them? Like if somebody.
Um, we typically, so everyone so far has come up to pick them up. Shipping is something that we've talked about, and we're looking at specific places to do it through, because we want to make sure obviously the puppy is safe and healthy through the whole situation. But a lot of times the people even enjoy coming to see our facility and meeting us in person, and so we haven't had a situation yet where we have shipped them.
Okay. Now, do you upland hunt then, Katelyn? Do you like upland hunt?
Yeah, we actually last weekend me and my dad and all the dogs were up in Maine for the first year.
Yeah, how was that trip? I did see that.
It was so great. Yeah, we grouse hunt in New York, which isn't the greatest. Our dogs might come on a few grouse a year, but when we went to Maine, it was unbelievable. There's grouse everywhere. Got a bunch of woodcock, and it was funny to see the older dogs that have hunted on grouse before. They're doing a lot better about staying close and not flushing the birds. And it's funny to see the younger dogs kind of learn the situation, because they keep on trying to go out far, and towards the end of the trip they're finally starting to stay a little closer to us and realize, okay, this is what we need to do.
Yeah. So how many birds did you end up getting while you're out there?
To be honest, I didn't actually keep a number down, but we definitely, at least I did a lot more missing than I should have.
Yeah, it sounds like Nick. No?
Yeah. Grouse is a totally different game than I'm used to, and I'm used to the duck hunting where you have an open shot the whole time, and there were so many where they threw, and my dad's like, "Why didn't you shoot?" And I was like, "Well, there was trees in the way." He goes, "It doesn't matter. You just gotta shoot, and the BB gets them." But
what are you shooting? What kind of gun are you shooting?
So I have for upland, I use a Browning Satori.
Oh,
everybody loves the Brownings. I love the Brownings.
Oh yeah, including us.
Yeah, I went to a gun shop to buy a new gun for waterfowl, and then I ended up finding this gun and spent my money on that. So I had to get a different gun afterwards.
Yeah. That's not a bad thing though.
So what gun do you use for waterfowl then?
So I just got a new one. My brother is actually a gunsmith, and he has an FFL. Oh, nice. Yeah. So I got a Stoeger. I don't remember exactly what the model is, but they have a model that's for women, which was nice because I used to always use their guns, which were always so nice to be like, wow, this is what it's supposed to feel like.
Yeah.
So what's made different is the stock shorter, or I guess what's
the biggest thing was the stock was shorter. The stock was shorter. The barrel was a little bit shorter. It was just fitting a lot better.
Nice. I didn't even know Stoeger made one specifically for women. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is.
I think it was like a women in youth gun is what they called it.
Nice. What advice would you give women that are trying to get into the bird hunting game, whether it be duck or upland? What do you think is the biggest thing for them? Because we're obviously, my wife is getting into hunting, and Tyler, he's got a girlfriend too, and she might get into hunting as well.
I think she wants to take pictures of us hunting. I don't know if I can get her to actually shoot.
First off, good waders, stay warm.
Yes.
And then honestly, yeah, that's the biggest thing. For me, a lot of it was, I love watching the dogs. That's my biggest thing, and that's what got me to start doing it. And then the shooting wise is, practicing and shooting clay pigeons and feeling confident about it. The men always have that, confidence that they roll with them. And for being a female, I just went the first time hunting with my boyfriend and his friends, and they said, "Oh, you're the first girl that we've ever brought." And it's kind of like you need to be confident with yourself and not really
I'd
Yeah.
shoot them. I'd shoot them sons of bitches.
Yeah.
She probably did.
Don't let them turn you down. Boom.
That's awesome.
So what are a couple of your best stories, your best hunting stories? Take us through some of those. It doesn't matter what game it is, even if you've done big game or a bow hunt, or whatever. Let's hear them.
So probably one of my favorites is our dog that I talked about, Gretchen, that was of our line. When she was getting older, she ended up getting cancer, which is really sad and heartbreaking for us. And she ended up, the doctors gave her some medicine. We did a few surgeries, try and keep her as long as we could. And the doctors gave her some medicine that made her feel better. And and they get that bounce back period when they give us medicine. And it happened to be that her bounce back period was opening day of duck season. And so we really debated, but she was so wanting to go. We're like, okay, let's take her. And we took her. We got, some really great pictures of her, and, she did great. And to the swamp that we were hunting, you have to walk down railroad tracks. And so we're walking down the railroad tracks as we're leaving. And then all of a sudden the dog takes a 90-degree angle and runs back in the swamp. And we're like, what in the world is going on? Next thing, she comes back out with a green head in her mouth that was banded. And no idea where this dog came from.
That just gave me chills.
And it was just the coolest thing. Yeah. And it was funny because all of the guys, that were hunting the swamp were trying to claim it. They're like, oh, I wounded a duck here, blah, blah, blah. And we're like, this band belongs to nobody but that dog.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That is awesome.
I've always tried to give Tyler some medicine so he can have a bounce back period, but he still nothing's happened.
Is that the picture? Oh god, my headset fell off. The picture that you sent us, is that the dog in the picture?
No, so the dog in the picture is Abby, who was Gretchen's daughter.
Okay.
And then in the front is Briar, who's Abby's daughter. So that would be the third generation there.
Nice.
Gretchen she was a white German short hair, which my dad, when he picked her out, he didn't want a white one originally, thinking, duck hunting, we don't want them flaring or whatever.
Yeah.
But when he did find this kennel and he met the parents of the dogs, they only had white dogs in the litter.
You guys mainly have liver color, right? From what I've seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he ended up keeping this, and we put a camo vest on her, and we never really had any issues of her flaring ducks. So the puppy that I kept this last year, my very first thing was, I want a white dog. I want one to throw back to Gretchen. She was the first one that we've kept since Gretchen, and she was the only white female in the litter, the only white dog in the litter, and ended up loving her. And I was like, this is the keep. So
isn't it crazy how those little situations happen? And I actually said this in a recent podcast.
Yeah.
Same thing happened to me. I picked out my dog Diesel, and I said I wanted, first of all black males. I was the first one to put my deposit down. Only black male. So it's kind of like, oh wow. At first I thought I was stuck with this. He was a big old slug, and I thought, oh shit. But he's a good dog, so I'm lucky to have him.
That's awesome.
We're actually so we did, I don't know if you guys have seen, so we have a bunch of liver and white is our color. There's also the black and white short hairs. Mm-hmm. And our last litter we had was the first time we bred to one, and they were absolutely gorgeous, and people were loving them like crazy. So our upcoming litter, we're breeding with that same male, and we're planning on keeping one of those puppies, and we're hoping for a black and white one, just kind of mix things up a little bit.
I have only seen one black German short hair before, and he was cool. He was super cool. That was at my trainer, Janie and Dwayne up Starkeeper Kennels. But yeah, he was awesome.
Nice. So do you guys have, what is the pheasant population up in upstate? Do you guys have pheasant up there, or is it?
It's more of stock birds that they release, and then you can go out and hunt them after. Unfortunately, our pheasant population is extremely low. The odds of seeing an actual wild pheasant in New York is uncommon.
Yeah.
We usually do in the wintertime for the dogs. Sometimes we'll go to a preserve just so we get to let them have some fun for a day, and we'll do that just to make them happy. But
just crazy to me. That's crazy.
Do you guys travel? So do you guys travel anywhere outside of Maine, bird hunting, or do you kind of just, is that your one trip that you guys usually take and then kind of stick around home?
So we normally are around New York, obviously, and then this Maine trip was our very first one that we've taken, and it's become, we decided after, as soon as we did, it's going to be a annual trip. And then the more we're getting into the NAVHDA stuff that I talked about, we're meeting people outside of the state and we're becoming friends. So we're probably going to start branching out some more.
Nice.
And yeah, you guys got to get out to the Dakotas.
Yeah.
Head out there. You would absolutely love it.
It's definitely on our list. Yeah.
So with the NAVHDA stuff, do you guys run trials with your GSPs, or are you specifically in there for?
So we started out with that. The first time someone had told us that we should go check one out, and the first time we went, we had always trained dogs to hunt just like they would for the average hunter, nothing serious. And then when we started going to the NAVHDA stuff and seeing these dogs work, it was like, whoa, this is cool. This is how we want our dogs to work. And that's how we got more into training. And then we also do the testing. And 3 of our 6 dogs we have now are actually versatile champions, which is the highest level you can go for NAVHDA.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's something we got really big into, and we actually started a chapter this year where we're located, and it's helped out a lot, be able to help our puppy people that have been local, to help them get into it and get their dogs trained.
Oh, wow. Nice. That's
so
really cool.
What is running a chapter for NAVHDA? What do you guys kind of do, and how do you help out people get into training them, or do you train them for them?
So the chapter, typically, our chapter meets twice a month. So we either meet once or twice a month typically. And during those meetings, we'll start out in the fields and work, and then we go to the water. And you're pretty much trying to help each other. I mean, everyone runs into problems with their dog, and someone else in the chapter may have run into something similar that they can give tips on and help them, go through it. And with helping our puppy people, we always tell them, come to the training day. We're going to give you guys homework to do, show you some stuff. And then you guys, do that for the next month, and then come back again, and then we'll work on the next thing.
Nice.
That's cool.
So do you use like some public ground for the training days, or is it held at your guys' place, I guess?
So we have a pond that we lease, that's a private property, and then the fields that we use is actually a member in our club. He lets the club use them, and
that's
so
nice.
we have that after. Yeah, and then we have our own facilities too that we might go afterwards, obedience stuff and things like that.
Nice.
Very cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is really awesome. It takes a lot of work to put all that together and be doing that. So do you work full time then for the kennel, or I guess what do you do, Katelyn?
So
I don't mean that in a bad way, but I'm just like, you got to be like full time here if you're running all those things, and then you're bow shooting. Like shit.
Yeah, so the club stuff is I can't take the credit for that. My dad did a lot of that, putting that together. But as far as the kennel goes, he does. I have my dog Willow. That is my first dog that I'm training on my own, which is really exciting. And I've
Good for
helped
you.
him throughout the dogs and be there. But as far as the kennel goes, I'll help him when he needs it for training, and then I do, the website and the social media stuff. I do a lot of searching online, looking at dogs' scores for sires and stuff like that, putting together, seeing what pedigrees look like when we cross dogs. Mainly like
That's
a
cool.
lot of the computer
That
work
is
stuff,
awesome.
and then yeah. Mhm.
Wow.
That is awesome that you're that into it.
I guess I didn't realize you could
Yeah, I started out when I was
plan like that. I didn't realize that was
Like, is that a
something.
computer program that you use, or like
yeah. So there's a computer program called BreedMate,
BreedMate?
and
Oh,
BreedMate. Yep.
I think Tyler went on that for
So
his online dating site. Didn't
Oh,
find
geez.
anybody.
Good. All right, on to the.
Sorry. This is not vodka, this is water.
But you can go on there and it does take a little bit of first download it, because you have to enter in dogs and current dogs and their pedigrees and stuff, but then you can see what it looks like to cross, see COI and all that kind of stuff. But
that's crazy that you can do that.
yeah, I get really into it, and like I love looking at pedigrees and seeing all that kind of stuff.
I'm still laughing about it I'm sorry. Oh shoot. So give us another good story, since we're already cracking up here. Give us another one of your favorite hunting stories that you have.
I think probably, so like I had said before, Abby was our hardest one to get to for sweat and that kind of stuff. So we took her, I mean, it's not truly hunting. We took her to a preserve to go pheasant hunting after we had this work put through her. And the first rooster that came out, I ended up shooting it, and she did the absolute perfect retrieve. And it was the first one that was like, yes, she's got it. It's working, and it was great.
Do you plan on?
And then today she went.
Go ahead. Sorry.
So today we went duck hunting, and I was sitting with my brother, and Abby was there. And this is, years later since she's had her forced fetch.
Yep.
And we had a widgeon come in. My brother shot it, and he got it in the leg. And then it was kind of getting far out, but I was like, I'll take a Hail Mary shot. And I shot it. I ended up dumping the thing.
Nice.
And the dog didn't see the bird go down. And it was behind us. And, there's it's in a swamp, a bunch of reeds, thick stuff. So I pointed her
7 foot down. Did you have to propel her down off that? 7 foot down?
So this is a different swamp.
Oh, okay.
Different swamp. Yeah. But so she'll take hand signals too. So I was able to point her in the direction she needed to go, and I told her back. And she went in the reeds where I couldn't see her anymore, and she came out, looked at me, and I told her back again, and she went back, and she was gone for 5-10 minutes, and all of a sudden she comes out with a widgeon in her mouth, and she's so proud of herself, up high, wagging her tail. And it's so cool to see how far she's come to the dog she is now.
It's crazy. You get a dog out there and they go, and it's kind of scary when you can't see them like that, and you just, well, let me just sit here and wait, because I think they're gonna come back. And sure as shit they do. So it's kind of, it's
absolutely
nuts.
Amazing what they can do.
It is.
We actually, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the lynch mob calls at all.
Mm-mm.
But they're they're a duck hunting call, and we had George Lynch came and he actually hunted with us, and there was a camera crew that came and did some video stuff for the
Oh, very
advertising for them. And yeah, it was the first time he even questioned it when he saw the short hairs. He goes, "We're taking short hairs waterfowl hunting," and we're like, "Yeah." So we took him out, and he had shot a bird, and it went way out, and we sent the dog out into the swamp, and she was gone for 20 minutes probably, and he looks over to my dad and goes, "Are you worried about the dog?" And this was Maggie, and he's like, "No, she'll come back when she has the duck." And after that 20 minutes, she comes from the opposite side of the swamp with a duck in her mouth, and it was just crazy that she was able to find
That
it
is
out
insane.
That is insane.
Is that so? Is there video with you guys on it on YouTube or anything yet, or is it still being made?
No, so it was I don't know if they ever used that specific footage, but it was for advertisements
Oh,
for
okay.
the calls. So they never made, like a YouTube video, it was just like clip stuff and pictures for them.
Oh, nice.
Mm.
So was he impressed with the short hair after that?
Absolutely, yeah.
That's good. That's awesome.
So is your plan, Katelyn, to take over the kennel someday? Like the whole thing?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my dad, he's still got a lot in him to do it for a while, so I don't imagine that's going to be anytime soon. But
Yeah.
even just kind of breaking off and still being part of Mountain Spirit Kennel, but kind of having like a part of it with me. We talked about in the future, maybe I'll keep all the males where I live, and then he'll have the males. But it's definitely something that I'm going to be a part of for as long as I'm around. So
Nice.
That is
yeah.
very cool. You're kind of envious of, Tyler and I were, we haven't had the luxury of growing up around that. So, it's kind of all self-taught. Obviously, you guys are self-taught too, but to have a kennel and to have the breeding and to have all that there and then to be able to pick which one which dog
It's
you want,
awesome.
that's that's a dream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's every hunter's dream to have all that bottle up into one.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Well,
Yeah, well, Katelyn, we appreciate your time. We usually like to keep these things around
Absolutely.
45 minutes-ish to an hour, and we have done that. And you have been great, and we will ask you to be on future podcasts when we come around. But in the meantime, Fleshman Dustman, we'll talk to you later. Thank you very much.
Awesome.
yeah.
Thank
All
you.
right. Yep.
Bye.
Bye.
See you.